everyone, it's Thursday. I'm Andrew Dowd. It is time for our Happening in the Hamptons podcast, our weekly breakdown of the Hamptons market, new listings, and events on the East End. We are sponsored today by New York Title Abstract, the Hamptons' leading title insurance firm. Visit NewYorkTitle.com. We are joined today, as always, by Steve Glick, Dave Rotiner, and today, ladies and gentlemen, is a very special 100th episode.
Here we go.
Which is awesome. I mean, 100 episodes. We appreciate everybody listening week in and week out. So we hope we've given you some insight into the Hamptons market. And of course, you know, Dave always bringing us every week a little bit of what's going on. We'll get to that later. But we have a full house today, a very full house. We are joined by the president of Saunders & Associates, Mr. Andrew Saunders, as well as, buckle up, agents Vincent Horcasitas, Kathy Tweedy, Ed Brule, Alan Schnorman. So we've got everybody today. Let's start with Andrew. How are you, sir? Happy 2023. It's a new year. Fresh outlook on Hamptons real estate.
Great to be here. Before we get going, I want to congratulate you guys. 100 episodes is a real accomplishment. And this thing is a success entirely because of the efforts of the three of you. I remember we were sitting in a conference room and you guys came up with the idea, hey, we should do a podcast. And I was thinking to myself, okay, how difficult could that be? You just sit around and talk all day, right?
Right.
And look what it's evolved into. I mean, it's great.
Really
It's crazy. It's remarkable how many people listen to it. It's crazy.
Little do we know, the first podcast, I think we had masks on. You know, we were all masked up. It was during the height of COVID, and we started this, and we have a big following now, and it's great to be able to talk about Hamptons real estate weekly, talking about the data and what things that are happening in the Hamptons. It's a fun conversation. We grew to thousands and thousands of listeners, and now we're hitting our 100th podcast. It's great.
I mean, I'll say we really do enjoy doing this every Thursday and look forward to it, but we really do hope that there's a value add for our listeners and that there is something to take away from this and helps you gain even more knowledge about what's going on out here in the real estate market. So let's hit the rewind button real quick before we get into 2023 and what that outlook may be. Andrew, let's talk a little bit about 2022. How did that year wrap up? How does that compare to years past? And kind of what's your outlook for the future?
Well, 2022 was a phenomenal year. It was our third best year. We did just under $2 billion in sales and rentals of Hamptons real estate. And it was only eclipsed by 2021 and 2020. Look, the industry's had an incredible run, and we're starting to see a more sobering approach to transacting in Hamptons real estate. The first half of last year was quite remarkable. The second half of the year was less so, and in fact, the fourth quarter, business was pretty slow. Transactional activity was off, substantially from fourth quarter of 2021. Now, as we know, the national picture has been quite negative. High rates have led to substantially declining transactional activity throughout the country, and I think there's been a tendency to equate what's happening here to the same narrative of what's happening, nationally. And my view is different. My view is that we have a significant imbalance in the whole supply-demand equation, that governs our market there, which is wildly skewed, in favor of sellers. And that's really what's causing our soft market. We have 265 agents. I speak to many of them frequently. And, thematically, the narrative is the same. They're frustrated that they can't find inventory. We have agents working with 5 buyers, 10 buyers. In the meeting before we adjourned, for the holidays, one of the teams stood up and said, "We're working with 20 buyers, and we can't, find inventory, inventory for them." So, what's happening? Our tepid sales in the Hamptons is very much a function of what's going on in the market, and and this imbalance that I referred to. I think if you want to look at the fundamental strength of our market, you have to look at what's been going on with median prices. Our median prices are up over the past 5 years. They're up from $985,000 to $1.6 million, last year.
Wow.
That's, it's up 64%. And it underscores, those median prices underscore really the enterprise value of what it is we're selling here. The value of Hamptons real estate is up substantially, over the course of the past 5 years. Now, what's interesting is that median prices were up from 2021 to 2022. 2022, they were $1.6 million, and in 2021, they were $1.5 million. Now, at the same time, the preliminary year-end numbers for the entire Hamptons are in, and they indicate that the Hamptons in 2022 we're going to do 45. Is going to be down 45% over 2021. So when you look at the big picture, we have median prices that continue to rise in the face of declining transactional activity. And another statistic that has really resonated with me, we did, as of the end of the third quarter last year, we did an analysis to take a look at the relationship between the last trading price relative to the relative to the last asking price. Where it traded relative to the last asking price, and 86% of the trades at our firm traded within 10% of the last asking price, and in fact, 42% of the trades traded at full price or above ask. So
if you price it right, it sells.
Well, okay, so basically, what we have here is a picture where median prices are rising. We don't see like wholesale price reductions that would suggest that there's sort of a buyer's strike here. And I think all of this data suggests that the issues that we have here in the Hamptons are very much tied to this imbalance in the whole supply-demand thing. And that really has to right itself. If we had 300, additional $3 to $4 million houses for sale, if they were priced appropriately for what they were, they would sell. And so I think there are two headlines to what's going on in the Hamptons. One is this imbalance in the supply-demand equation. There's not enough inventory to satisfy the demand that exists. The second headline is pricing is key. You can't, COVID is over, okay, for the most part in terms of its impact on the Hamptons. You can't COVID price anymore. And if you aspirationally price your property inappropriately, in my view, in this market, the market is too smart, the market is too efficient, and the market is going to tell you that it doesn't make sense and you're not going to transact. But the good news for serious sellers is that if you want to sell your property at a fair market price, this is a market that's going to take you out. You're going to transact. And that's really the good news here.
In your experience, has things not sold at appropriate prices, like just from a market slowdown? Does that happen?
Absolutely. I mean, look at 2019 and
so the
other years that we've had.
There's a real demand. There's the demand in Hamptons real estate. Super strong.
Well, look, we have, I referenced all these agents that I talked to who are working with multiple buyers. Look, it's more than anecdotal. We're the leading firm in the Hamptons. We do more transactions than all the firms, and I think we're doing about a third of the business here in the Hamptons, about 30% of the business. And so what happens here is predictive in a way of what's going on, what's going on in the Hamptons. And there's real demand out there, but pricing is key. We all talked in yesterday's company-wide gathering. An agent was scratching his head about, why isn't this listing not selling? It's a terrific listing. And, 5-6 agents stood up and said, your listing's too expensive. Bring it down by X and this thing's going to sell. And that's very important. That's what you want. You want to operate in an efficient market. These hyperbolic markets that make no sense, they're not predictive. But what's important about the Hamptons is, what's meaningful to me is that this is a very investable market. Look at what's happened to our prices over the course of the past 5 years that I referenced earlier. Prices are up, and they continue to go up despite sort of compromised transactional activity that we've experienced in the latter half of this year. This is a statement about the positive prospects for our market on an intermediate and long-term basis. This is a very investable market, and I'm actually fairly upbeat about 2023.
To that point, it being an investable market, I want to send it over to Alan now, because Alan, you've invested for decades. You've been very successful out here. So when you look at where we are, where we've been recently, compared to maybe a long-term outlook on what your career has been as far as investing in the Hamptons real estate, where do you see things sitting right now?
They're very unique, a little different in that, one, we have an imbalance of supply and demand. We have more demand than supply, yet volume now is challenged. I believe the volume is off because of lack of supply, not lack of demand. It's just that we don't have sufficient supply. Historically, we usually had around 4,000 or so houses listed. Now we're maybe 1,100 to 1,200. So we have almost 25% of normal. So you have 2,500 brokers with maybe 1,100 listings, yet thousands of people out there who want to buy, but they want to buy, they want to buy a particular house in a particular area. Well, that may not be available. So they're waiting until the supply increases. The Hamptons market over the last 40 years has been in an upward trend. Yes, when things get challenged, it flattens out, but it really never goes down. You know, real estate is all local. What's happening in Nassau County may have nothing to do with what's happening in the Hamptons. But there's nothing like the Hamptons. It just continuously goes up. It's a great location. You know, great locations, when the market's going up, it goes up first and it goes up most. And when the market is flattening out or going down, it goes down last and it goes down least. So where can you get a market like that? Look, nothing goes in one direction. Nothing just goes up to the moon. If it goes up to the moon, you have like in Holland with the tulips in the 1700s. Real estate never changes. The basics of real estate was true 200 years ago. It's true today. And you know what? It's going to be true in 200 years from today. It's always the same, the basics. It's not like the stock market. It's location, location, location.
The simple breakdown.
Alan, you got this line. You have this line, when you're crying, you should be buying. I'm trying to figure out in this market, you know, what's your opinion on the person that's waiting for inventory to come on? Are you able to foresee in your mind inventory actually coming on, or are people going to continue to kind of hold off from selling the way it is now?
The pandemic has changed people dramatically, especially it's changed our market people, the accomplished people, the entrepreneur people, the professional people. They no longer have to work in Manhattan. They can work from the Springs. They could work from East Hampton. And you know what? When they realize that, they're moving their families out here. They don't have to be in a congested area anymore. You know, it's all about space, it's about beauty, and now it's about lifestyle. And accomplished people want the best lifestyle they can get. And you know where that is? That's in the Hamptons.
Well, the ultimate question in my mind is, what are the circumstances that are going to result in more inventory, appreciable amount of additional inventory, you know, coming onto the market? Or is this just a paradigm shift? It's a new reality and, you know, this is it. You know, we're going to, you know, operate in an environment with significantly less inventory than we had before COVID, and the market dynamics will simply change.
And you said that yourself, Andrew. As soon as something comes on the market, if it's fairly priced to the market, it moves. It's as simple as that. It sells. So the question is, there's going to have to be more building to add to the inventory, because houses will be torn down because there aren't that many lots available anymore. And that's what's going to attract the supply. It's going to have to come from the new construction.
Isn't it also about the mortgage rates, that a lot of people are holding on because if they want to sell, they don't want to sell into a higher rate? So they're either waiting for the rates to come down, or they'll get used to the rates and then make the change.
They'll get used to rates. When I started in the business, rates were 8.75%. And then, believe it or not, they went up to 11 and 12%. And I thought that was normal. Well, what we have now is we have a 10-year period of no interest rates. I consider 3%, 2% interest, no interest. If inflation is 3% and you're paying 2%, what's the cost of your money? Zero. And that's why these last 10 years, since what I call the Great Recession, is different. You know, we're no longer in the Great Recession because the Great Recession caused such interest rates of zero interest rates, because inflation was more than the interest rate. So naturally, every accomplished people were buying. The only thing I want to comment on what you said, Kathy, is that people don't want to sell because if they rebuy, it's going to cost them more money.
Right.
That is absolutely true. However, our market is totally unique. There's a large percentage of our market that are cash buyers.
Here, the market used to be that 75% of all the sales were under $2 million. Well, today, with the change in pricing, 75% are now under $3 million. And a lot of those people are still financing. So it does affect the bulk of those people that are out here buying. It may not affect the higher priced buyer.
Well, to Alan's point, to Kathy's point, and I want to get to Ed here in just a minute, but when you talk about the 3%, right, that Alan's saying, well, that's no interest rate because it's free money, so to speak, right? So if you're investing, it made sense to just take a 3% interest rate on a property, maybe no matter what the price point, because it's borrowed money and it's such a low interest rate that it made sense. So Ed, let's just say you have a buyer, and I know you deal with a lot of homes at various price points, anywhere from $1 million and up. But let's just say you have somebody that comes looking for a $2, maybe $3 million property, maybe $4. They say, I want to finance, but the interest rates are higher. Does it make sense to buy now? Should I wait? Are the interest rates going to come down? What is your message to somebody that wants to buy into Hamptons Real Estate as an investment to build that generational wealth? And they tell you, I just feel like I missed the boat because now interest rates are up. What's your message to that buyer?
Right on. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the question. But more importantly, congratulations, guys. 100 episodes. Andrew, well done for green lighting this thing 100 ago. I can't tell you how many good emails I've gotten from being on the pod and from big people. I'm going to drop a name here. Peter Schrager, building out the NFL Network, wrote me the sweetest email multiple times after hearing Dave, Steve, Andrew, and myself just ramble about the market. And his feedback was, guys, it's a direct source of data into the Hamptons market. Where else can we get it? Please keep doing it. Do it more often. So right on to 100, and I hope we start filming more of these. Okay, back to the question. I think ultimately Alan's answer is right. He's been doing this 30, 40 years. He's got 100 million plus in Hamptons real estate, and he's got generational wealth. How did he do it? He did it by buying real estate smart, right? So I think Hamptons Real Estate is the best investment on earth. Alan and I can confer on that. And in order to make it so, when you purchase your property, this is the hook. Instead of just buying a house that becomes a tedious liability, you creatively purchase it into an LLC in the Hamptons market, which has the steady underlying juice of rental income, and you learn how to make money with the property. And in so doing, the renter's income helps you either build that house out over the 3 years, you buy another house, and you build a portfolio. And Alan's perfect example of how to do it. So I don't care whether the market's up or down. I don't care whether the rates are 15 or 2%. I want to own Hamptons Real Estate. I want to buy it in an LLC. I want to turn it into a rental property, and I want to build generational wealth for my family, regardless of the market.
So you're saying don't worry about what the interest rate says. Work within what the rate is, but get into the market.
It makes no difference. Listen to this. It makes no difference when you buy Hamptons Real Estate. The market can be low, the market can be medium, or the market could be high. Eventually, if you're a long-term buyer, and if you have the right expectations, you're going to be building wealth.
And you build real wealth. I mean, it's not like you're doing a long-term stock. You're buying Coca-Cola. You're buying over 30 years. Over 30 years. It's an unbelievable deal.
Yeah. Can I just, John, I want to end one more thing here. So you guys had me tell a story. So one of my truly a great client, and I've got a few of them, but one of them, he moved out here 5 years ago and bought a house for $1.2 million. He renovated with $700,000, right? So he's in it for 1.9. Spent his time, loved doing it, enjoyed the process. He asked me along the way, me and my partner, what should we do? How should we strategically position it? He ended up renting it for like $320 pre-COVID. Then he went like $375. He went over $4 during the COVID, and now he's back down to $375, booked out for 3 years, right? So he owns it for 1.9. Okay, it's worth 2.9, and it's throwing off $300 a year. So in the 5 years, right, he's bought another one, moved into it, renovated it, made a baby, building a family. Then he bought a third, right? The third is my $4.2 million modern listing that I'm showing 15 times a week in a market that's slow. Not slow. This market's active. There's real buyers. There's smart buyers. The most important thing about this market is the fundamental demographic shift of our buyer pool is different. We have year-round residents now. We never had that. So they're living here all year. And the buyers who want to buy don't want to buy to be here for the summer. They want to buy to be here for the year. That's a different buyer. It's a different process.
Okay, so I want to stop you there because this actually transitions really well into what I know Kathy wanted to bring up. And that was going back to what Andrew said. There's two big headlines, right? The supply and demand issue and the pricing. So Kathy, when you're working with somebody that wants to maybe list their house, as Andrew has mentioned, the COVID pricing craze is over. It's been over for a while. So let's just talk about the importance of pricing, because even though, to Ed and Alan's point, it doesn't matter when you get into the Hamptons market, the point is to get in. But still, buyers and sellers, for that matter, are very educated in this day and age. There's a lot of information out there for them to consume even before they go to an agent. But what are you telling them, somebody that wants to list their house, as far as the importance of pricing and how that will help the property move?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. I think everybody wants to make a smart investment. They want to make have made a smart investment if they're selling their house. So they want to make sure that they're making money. But what's happened with COVID is prices were so high that everybody's pricing now, they're aspirational, they're not realistic. And it's very important that we as brokers talk to the sellers about the importance of pricing and right pricing. Because if they price it wrong, as you said, Andrew, we have a lot of very smart buyers out there. They have a lot of research at their fingertips. They know what the right value is. And they're not going to even go see a house if they think it's grossly overpriced.
It is interesting that even though the supply is so low, that doesn't automatically mean you can ask whatever you want. Exactly. People are being patient.
People are being, because
no one's running for their lives anymore.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's a great point. But the other thing is, we have to also sort of recalibrate the national news. As Alan said, as we all know, real estate is local. So you can't go by what's in the national news.
Right.
For the Hamptons, this is an incredibly unique market, and people will always want to be here to vacation here, live here, invest here, and you've got to get the people in there to buy, and you can only do that if you price it right. Everybody knows what it's like to sit on listings because they're overpriced. They don't get shown. They get offers that are so out of whack that if you were to right price it, you might get offers closer to where you really want to be.
And we've covered that on the podcast in previous of our 100 episodes. Like where agents,
bidding war.
Agents will say either price it just under or right at, and oftentimes you'll get more.
You'll get more rather than not getting it. And if you start seeing a lot of price drops, you think there's, a fire sale going on. But I also think the other thing that we have to keep in mind is, on the other side, on the buy side, not everybody wants to monetize their investment as a rental. They don't want to do that. They want to use it as
they want to enjoy it. Right.
They want to enjoy it. So we also have to help people understand what the value is and what the long-term value is in a property here. And to Alan's point, if you're going to buy something, regardless of what the market is or what the rates are, you'll make money. I mean, we've all heard the mortgage company's line of date the rate and marry the house.
Correct. And you could just look around and see in the Hamptons, it's becoming a year-round community. People that were out here, they used to come out here for the summer, and then with COVID, they stayed an extended season and realized, hey, I could live here year-round. And if you just look around, you'll see a lot of new restaurants coming into the Hamptons. Businesses are now staying open year-round. And a lot of these towns and villages, they're revitalizing the main street and improving the infrastructure, updating the sidewalks, the street lights, and making this more of a year-round community. And the towns are investing their money into the Hamptons. And that makes it safer when you're looking to purchase a home, that you're going to enjoy the Hamptons and realize that money is being invested into the infrastructure here in the Hamptons for years to come.
For year-round people, yeah.
It really is true. I was at Gubbins the other day, and that's a very locally owned store. It's a husband and wife store. Barbara Gubbins owns it. And they're going to Hawaii for a month. And I was like, oh, I guess it's slow this time of year, huh? Because it's wintertime. And they were like, no, this is the craziest. The last 3 years since COVID, we're year round. We're open, man. We usually close, but we want to go to Hawaii.
Right. That's great to see. And more medical facilities are coming out here. You could see like NYU, Langone is out here now, and just you see them. Every town is more things opening up that were never here years ago. They're now. Businesses are investing and making the Hamptons a year-round place for their business.
In a strange way, the pandemic gave the Hamptons a whole new energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because of more people out here, restaurants with tables outside.
It's unbelievable, yeah.
It's just a whole different vibe here now, day and night.
Vince, you are somebody who, you're all over the Hamptons, right?
Top broker.
Yeah, I mean, he's, what do we call you, the hardest working broker in the Hamptons? The man's always hustling, which is great. And you work with people all over the Hamptons, from Southampton, Hampton Bays, all the way out to Montauk, in different price points, $1 to $50 million. So just in your experience right now, what is the price point that you're seeing is maybe going the quickest? Is it that under $5 million? Is the $10 million and up still hot and still moving? What are you seeing as far as the various price points?
I don't know. I think it's a tough act to follow after listening to this knowledge in this room.
What a group, right?
What a group.
It's a crazy group.
I tell people all the time that, they talk about, different companies, and I'm constantly getting hit up to move to a different company. And I said, one of the great things about Saunders and the company here is the agents that are here. We have so many good agents. We don't have like 2 or 3 or 4 good agents. We have 20 or 30 really good agents that are very knowledgeable, and you can tell in this podcast the knowledge that's here. Listen, it's going to be a great year. I'm starting off the year. I have 14 homes in contract already this year. So when I look at, is it going to be a good? Is it going to be a good year? Or is it going to be a bad year? Of course, it's going to be a good year. And to answer your question about, what price points are going, like I have an investor that lost out on 6 deals. Okay, 6 different deals that he was in the deal. He had the deal. He thought he had the deal. Then somebody came in and swooped it up underneath him. It was a sealed bid that he lost. You name it. Okay, so we're going into contract on another property today. So always the investment side of it, because there's so little that is south of the highway in an area that, it used to be years ago. I've been a broker here for 22 years in the Hamptons. I've lived out here for over 30 years. And, it used to be for the developer, it was a third, and a third. You buy the land for a third, you put a third of the money into it, and then you sell it for a third. Now, those numbers have been, off because the prices of real estate have gotten higher. The prices of construction have gotten higher. So to get an investment that really is, in your sweet spot of it, you have to find the right property. So, those are some of my thoughts on that.
You've kind of said some things to me that were interesting. You've said that to Kathy's point, talking about the national news, it's like every day we're hit with terrible news.
Yeah, I don't hear a lot about the interest rates causing a problem. Okay, so sure, if you're trying to buy something under $1.6 million and you're not showing good income and you're trying to buy it, the interest rate has a bearing on the price that you can buy because of what you're doing. But most of the time, the only reason that rates, in my opinion, were being used for purchases is because it was like free money. If you're going to buy a $10 million house and you're getting 3%, sure, I'll take a mortgage on that, right? So it doesn't really matter. As you get, in my opinion, as you see homes that are above $4 million on up, people are paying cash for those properties most of the time. That's my sight on that.
But are the buyers using the national news to try and beat down the price?
Okay, so let's talk about that. For the last 22 years, the Tri-State is always coming out here trying to beat down our prices.
The last 20 years.
The last 20 years, okay? They come out here, they're looking for a deal, they're looking for a reason to take the number down, okay? Whether it's the war, whether it's interest rates, where it's the stock market was always saying the market's down, they're always looking for a reason to try to bring it down. And then COVID hit, right? COVID came in, and for the first time in how many years, it was a seller's market, right? So 2019 was the first time, if we go back to 2019, that our market was going to be up for the first quarter in 12 quarters, 2019, right? We had, I don't know how many, we had 12 quarters of down market, down market, down market. Then 2020 came, COVID came, and it turned it upside down. So my opinion of the whole thing is, if we had another 300 homes that all of a sudden just got put on the market, would that be taken out? Would the market consume that? In my opinion, is yes, it would consume it. So COVID hit, 500 homes changed, and it changed our market out here. So if you flip the switch and said, hey, let's put 300 homes and different price points on the market, would that be taken out? And that tells you if our market is strong or not strong. I think absolutely that would happen.
Agreed.
All right, so let's. I want to get to Steve. With every week he does the numbers, right? So we've kind of talked big picture. Let's just go to Steve with the numbers, the most recent numbers for this week.
All right. Yes. Over the past week, there were 14 listings that went into contract from West Hampton to Montauk. Compared to the same week last year in 2022, there were 36 listings that went into contract, which is a year-over-year decrease of 61%. The same week in 2021, there were 49 listings that went into contract. So compared to this past week, that's a decrease of 71%. The breakdown of these 14 transactions this week, there was one between 10 and 20 million, two between 4 and 6 million, four between 2 and 4 million, and 7 under 2 million. The dollar volume this past week was $43 million. Compared to last year, the dollar volume was $76 million, which is a year-over-year decrease of 43%. If you go back to 2021, the dollar volume was $129 million, which is a decrease of 67% compared to this year. This past week, there were 15 listings that came onto the market. So we had 14 going into contract that only increased our inventory by one listing. The breakdown of those 15 new listings, there was 2 over 20 million, 2 between 6 and 8 million, 4 between 2 and 4 million, and 7 under 2 million. The inventory, this is a big thing we speak about, and we're tracking that every single week. The overall inventory stands at 1,706 total listings. This includes your actives, your in contracts, and some of the North Fork listings as well. If you exclude the North Fork and just focus primarily on the Hamptons, there is 1,160 active listings on the South Fork, and there's currently 468 listings in contract.
Okay, so Andrew, I want to send it back to you. Just give us your assessment of the most recent numbers and how you see that playing into the next couple of weeks, months, maybe the rest of the year.
Well, look, I think there are two themes that are really, impacting Hampton's real estate. There are two new realities that we're operating under. One is there's been a change in the live-work paradigm precipitated by COVID that's defined society for generations. And that, of course, has led to more people coming out here. Ed and others here on this podcast have talked about the positive impact that that's had on our communities. And that, nevertheless, has really impacted our inventory. People are perhaps, staying here, deciding not to move, living in the Hamptons longer. But our inventory is down. And it's really impacting, business. Now, the question is this new reality a static kind of thing, or is it dynamic? Is it going to change at some point, over time? And I guess, time will tell. For us as brokers, we're very agile, and we'll have to adapt. We have a great firm, and with fantastic brokers, we have a lot of innovation that goes on here, and we'll figure it out. But I think in the near term, first quarter, right now has been certainly unremarkable. The first couple weeks of January, which it always is, quite frankly, and then things really light up kind of towards the end of January, and which marks the start of our traditional, the first selling season that we have here in the Hamptons, and it essentially runs through the end of April to early May, and that's comprised of the early adopters, so to speak, the people who want to be in a rental or buy a home for the summer and use it for the summer. And then we find that June is kind of a transition month for us, a transitioning between, people are getting in here, starting their summers, and it transitions to the second part of our selling season, which gets going, around July and extends through, Columbus Day. I have every expectation that, we'll have, two dynamic, selling seasons this year. You can't have a slow market forever. When there's a significant, like a critical mass of buyers who want to transact. But the change that I talk about is, in the old days, there was a traditional way of doing business. You had X number of buyers, you had, a rational amount of product for sale, and, you would transact. Today, the dynamic is different. There's less inventory. We're all adapting to this sort of new reality. And again, my question is this new reality a forever
Long-term,
kind of characteristic, a long-term thing. And either way, smart people figure out innovative ways to work around, challenges that exist. And I have no doubt that we will as well. But for me, the big picture, the ultimate question for 2023, does the inventory picture normalize to a more rational, historical level? And we'll see. Either way, we'll get it figured out. We have, a fantastic firm here. We're, market leaders. We have a substantial market share here at the firm. We have more exclusive listings than any firm here in the Hamptons. And importantly, we have an esprit de corps here in our firm. You can feel it, like just in this podcast, that's rooted in, sort of a consensus-oriented approach that we have here at the firm. And this is a safe place here at our firm, and agents know it. And I think you feel it when you listen to us. But there's, frankly, a lot of, respect in the room for each other, and that extends throughout our company. But it's been a great run, and I'm looking forward to 2023. I have every expectation 2023 is going to be dynamic in its own way, and we're ready.
That sounds perfect. What are you doing this weekend, Dave? Let's move away from real estate just a little bit and talk about what's happening in the Hamptons.
I feel very spoiled by the wealth of knowledge that.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many years of experience we have in this room to quickly add it up, but I mean, it's a lot. It's extensive. And I will say this about Saunders, about the firm, that one of the things that I think makes this particular firm unique is that it is local to the Hamptons. This is focused on the Hamptons.
Yeah.
Andrew's been out here, for how long have you been out here?
25 years.
25 years. Okay. So, I mean, you, Alan, Ed, Vince, Kathy, everybody has like such an in-depth knowledge of this particular market. And so just to kind of go back to what we were saying about the national picture, it's like if you take all that away and you talk to the people that are in this room, that are here every day, living, breathing, working in this environment, the amount of knowledge and information that you have is really unparalleled. And I think that's special for somebody that's looking to buy or sell their home, get into the real estate market out in the Hamptons, because you're dealing with and working with a lot of really smart people.
It really is true. I'm always fascinated by every time I have like a thought, I can just say, I'm going to go to Vince with that question, or I'll call Uncle Alan up on the phone and I'll be like, Uncle Alan, what do you think of upstate real estate? It's just like whenever I have a real estate thought, it's just crazy. Anyway, what am I doing this weekend? What is happening in the Hamptons? Obviously, this is the most important part. So, no, but I went to the 1770 house over the weekend. I want to recommend that anyone listening should go to that place for a wintertime restaurant. They have a $60 price fix, and the menu is the real deal. They have scallops. They have this rabbit dish. I've never had rabbit before. Yeah. I felt kind of bad about it. I was thinking about Bugs Bunny while I was eating it.
Was it like too cute of an animal to eat?
I just felt kind of bad about it.
That's not wrong. I agree.
I was like, I'm going to do it.
I thought I was going to hop off his plate.
Did you do your restaurant review of this place? Your
I'm going to review it on Hamptons.com. Yeah.
Does it taste just like chicken?
It tasted like rich almost. It was very good.
Really? It was really good?
It was very good. It wasn't just good. It was very good.
Wow.
And the appetizers, I mean, there's a fireplace. That thing is.
You were down in the downstairs bar, or were you?
No, the upstairs.
You were upstairs.
The place is like hundreds of years old. They have things from the 1700s when they did a renovation. The manager of the restaurant was telling me that they were breaking through one of the walls and they found a bottle with a note in the bottle.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. It is so cool. It's like
that's a great winter thing, right? Like a good,
and it's all warm,
January,
super warm inside. It's a great restaurant. So that is a good one. If you're looking to do some entertainment at Bay Street Theater, they're going to have a National Theater Live with Henry V. So this is a live viewing of no. This already was played live in London, but they filmed it, and then you get to watch it on TV or on the big screen at Bay Street Theater.
Nice.
That's on Saturday. Then you have a winter jazz series with the Dahound Salem Quintet, which is their, I don't know if I got that right.
Close enough.
That's
sounded
really
good, Dave.
Yeah.
All right. So that's January 14th. That's from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Southampton Arts Center. And if you're a jazz fan, supposedly these guys are a pretty big deal in the jazz world. At least that's what the editor of Hamptons.com just told me just now. Then you have, of course, good old Nancy Atlas.
Oh, nice.
Is going to have her fireside sessions at Bay Street Theater January 14th at 8 p.m. in Sag Harbor. So you can go and hang out with Nancy Atlas if you want. She's great. She's local.
She's the best.
Yeah.
Nancy's
She's
great.
locally
Awesome.
famous. She's played at some of our holiday parties or
Summer party. Summer
party. Yeah, it was the summer. I forgot summer party. So she's super cool. And then what else do we got? There's a dance jam session with Love Rhythm, January 14th from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. At the church at 48 Manor Street at Sag Harbor.
They have Love Rhythm at the church?
Lay Rhythm.
Oh, Lay Rhythm.
They play on
It's
words
French.
They play on words with Love Rhythm.
Church, the Art Center Church?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So
Sounds like a great weekend.
it should be pretty good.
It honestly hasn't been a bad winter. I mean, I was looking back at my time hop or whatever. You look back and there was snow like this time last year and like years past. I mean, it's been pretty mild. So if you're outside or you want to get like an outside bonfire going and listen to some music, like
last summer was the summer of Dave. Like I did everything last summer.
This is the winter of Dave.
And this is like the winter of Dave.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah. We're going everywhere. We're not messing around.
Hey, listen,
That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I like it. I was thinking about how to wrap this up because we have so many guests and so much insight here. So if I can kind of put everybody on the hot seat real quick, give me one line, one sentence that you would that maybe either sums up Hampton's real estate or your expectations for this coming year, or what a piece of advice for a buyer or seller, whatever you want. Just one piece of advice as we journey into 2023. And who wants to start? Ed, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. What do you think?
You got it. All right. It's not going to be one, but it's going to be one quick thought. So I think everyone who out there should consider putting a third of their portfolio in real estate, make it Hampton's Real Estate, buy the beach house. Don't put it off. It's a great way to live. Per Kathy's point, on the buy side, the market is shifting. Bring bids. Bring bids. Guys, the market is shifted. The pricing is not correct yet, right? So there's that bifurcation between the buyers want something and the sellers want a number. The bidders need to start bidding. Don't assume because it's within 10% or something, you shouldn't bid it. Bid it. That market has changed. And then regarding our villages, can you believe St. Ambrose, right, moved their new location in East Hampton and it's packed in December? You guys, 6 years ago, that place was boarded up and it was like, what's going on Tumbleweed Tuesday? So right on to the year-round inventory. I mean, the year-round buyers. Now, to inventory, my last thought. I think this happens. One of the best builders in East Hampton recently told me, Ed, it takes me 8 months to finish a project if I start from scratch. I mean, in terms of like getting I used to be able to get the sticks built and the cement poured right when he closed. Now it takes him 8 months. So the town's delays are changing the dynamic. The dynamic is now it's easier to renovate a property. There's your inventory solution. There's people out there with houses who want a big number or don't even know they have a number or are bidder for these houses. That will become available this year. And those houses will get renovated and become real quality offerings. So I'm done.
All right. I like it. Thank you. Ed, Alan, what do you got?
I have a number of statements I'd like to make. First, regarding Kathy and pricing. I have seen over all the years, those people who do not price their product properly to the market sit and don't get any showings, and then usually take less money in the end had they priced the property adequately in the beginning. So that's one thing, and you got to keep that in mind. Again, the Hamptons market is not like any other market. Very sophisticated, and our buyers are very knowledgeable, as Kathy said, extremely knowledgeable, probably more knowledgeable than even us, because they do the homework on their specific location, on that specific house, and they know it backwards and forwards. So unless you price the property, if you want to sell the property, price it properly. Otherwise, it's just not going to sell. And in the end, you're going to take less money. Second, those people who wait for the Hamptons market to go down are still waiting.
Yeah, that's really true.
You cannot time the Hamptons market. it doesn't time. You cannot. I'm experienced and have been in the market a long time. And I tell you, I overpay when it's a good location. You can't buy good locations without overpaying. And what does overpaying mean? Well, maybe I'm paying more than the last price of a comparable house. But I want that project. And you know what? In the end, you pay a premium and then you sell a premium. Pay a premium and you sell a premium. You want to buy a discount, you'll sell a discount. I've learned that a long time ago. In the Hamptons market, you have to have the right expectations. Remember that. Some people think, I'm going to buy that house, I'm going to fix it up, and I'm going to flip it and make a fortune. Well, you may make that fortune and you may flip it, but that is not the right expectations. Real estate is slow. It's reliable and it's methodical. You buy something, you can increase the value, one, by renovating, as Ed said, and then selling it. That's one way to increase it. Or you could do nothing with the project. You could buy a piece of land, and then the market will rise as the market will. You know that expression, a rising tide raises all boats. And it's true. So there's two ways. You can wait and take time, or you can renovate and improve the property. That's how you add value. Regarding listings that Steve said, in my experience, I've seen listings that sell as high as 80 per week, and that was during the pandemic, and as little as single digits when things are very bad and challenged. But I am telling you, the Hamptons market, at least for me, in my experience, is probably one of the best markets to invest monies. And what are we talking about as far as investments? We're talking about growing wealth. Everybody wants to pay X number of dollars, and then if they have the right expectations over a long period of time, they want to grow wealth. They want to grow wealth for themselves, and they want to grow wealth for their families.
So, sorry, Anna. Just that goes back to exactly what Ed was saying as far as the generational wealth. And Vince, let me get your quick take on the Hamptons market.
I'll make it short here. So just if you're a couple $100,000 away from trying to buy a property and you're thinking, should I come up to buy the property? If it's in a good location, it's a great property, but you're negotiating and you're just like $50,000 apart, $100,000 apart, buy the property. It's not going to make a difference over a short period of time. I always get this, I'm working with the listing agent. If you pick a good broker to work with, you shouldn't feel like you have to only work with the listing agent. You should be okay working with a buyer's agent. A buyer's agent will help you find the right price if he's a good agent. I commonly get people call up, I'm only working with the listing agent. I think that's a wrong move. If you have a savvy broker that knows the area, why would you only work with an agent that's only representing 2 properties in the Hamptons instead of 30 properties in the Hamptons?
Interesting.
Obviously, the broker that's listing 30 properties knows the market pretty well, rather better than a broker that's only representing 2 properties.
I like that. Kathy?
I think what I would say is to sellers, ambitious pricing, you have to stop looking at aspirationally ambitious pricing and get to real value pricing. And for buyers, I would say that this market prices will moderate. They are moderating. It is not going to be slash and burn pricing.
Okay.
So don't expect
Yeah,
that.
that's perfect. Lastly, Andrew.
Hire a smart broker.
There you go.
Hire Saunders.
Yeah.
Sounds self-serving. It certainly is.
It's true.
But when you look around this room and you look around the roster of talent that's in this firm, there's an opportunity for a buyer or a seller for that matter. But if you are properly advised by a smart broker who's not brokering you but has an interest in a long-term relationship with you, and you stay committed to your plan and you're thoughtful and opportunistic and well-advised, then the ends will justify the means, and you will prosper investing in Hamptons real estate.
That's perfect. And I think that's a great spot to end on. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I think this was a really great podcast, a great 100th episode, almost an hour long, but a ton of great insight and information. Thank you all for joining us in these first 100 episodes. We look forward to another 100 and beyond. I'm Andrew Dowd. That's what's happening in the Hamptons.